Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the RXP podcast, where four working professionals come together to talk about the movies, shows, books, dramas, everything, anything under the sun that they love and enjoy. I'm your host today. My name is Tiffany, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Alex.
And games.
Matt.
Hi.
And Yasser.
And other podcasts. Have we ever talked about other podcasts on this show?
I feel like we have highlighted some podcasts before.
I've talked about YouTube channels, definitely.
Yes. Yes. You know what, Alex? It's so funny that I didn't mention games at the top of the show because that shows where my year has been. So
Yeah,
guess
for
what
real.
this episode is about, ladies and gentlemen? It is episode 109, and we are here to reflect on our goals past in 2024 and proclaim new goals for 2025. Now, last year we did something fun where Yasser was hopping back into the crew and he graded us on how well we achieved our goals in 2023. This year,
He's the one that gets judged.
I guess you could say that. We're gonna take it a little bit easy, right? This episode we're not gonna grade anything because we all know that my grades are probably failing this year. And since I'm hosting, that's why I didn't want grades. So
Let's just be happy for what we accomplished.
Exactly.
And everything else will make up the rest of our life.
Yeah, maybe we are bringing those goals forward, roll over the goals.
True.
Keep working towards them. Who would like to walk up to the podium first and talk about last year?
So are we going to just go through all of ours when we walk up to the podium?
I think so.
Okay.
Question for the group.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you want to also talk about your new goals when you talk about your old goals? I guess this is
Let's get the old out of the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so
Let's get
too.
the old out of the way.
Cool.
Which-
Old and done.
Yeah.
Well,
Or maybe not done.
Semi-done.
Yeah.
Work in progress. I'll walk up to the podium.
Okay,
All right,
welcome.
Matt.
Welcome
Let's
to
go,
the floor.
Matt. Let's go, Matt. I'm clapping.
So thank you everybody. Please calm down. Please calm down. I'm pretty sure because I didn't write these down. In my mind, I think I had 3 goals. There was a movie goal, there was a game goal, and then there was a book goal. Those are my 3.
I believe
Books
you're correct.
was the one that
sounds
I
right.
was not looking forward to, and I was not doing well until June when I started picking up audiobooks. And I went
Let's
through
go.
this existential crisis on the podcast. Every time I talked about
count?
it, do these
They
count?
count. They
Is
count.
it reading? Yes. And Tiffany was a supporter of me all along the way. So my goal was to read 12 books in the year, and my final count was 20.
Let's
the most
go.
I've ever-
Holy crap.
Almost
ever done.
double.
Smashed it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was the most I've read ever. Honestly, in a year.
Or since school, maybe?
No, just
Probably more than that.
The last time I read this much was for a Pizza Hut personal pizza.
Yeah.
When I was in
Wait,
fourth
what?
grade.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Those summer reading coupon books.
Yes.
Yes. Summer reading
Have you
coupons?
never heard this?
Yeah.
No.
Yasser, you didn't have those? Oh,
Listen,
my
I wasn't
God.
a reader, so I was this is not my thing. I'll
That
just
was
have my mom buy one for me.
Pizza Hut pizza was not enough of a motivation.
Yeah,
for-
exactly.
It was at the
yeah,
library, the summer reading
You read
program.
books and you got a personal pan pizza, and it was great. And that's probably the last time I read this much. So really loved it. There was a lot of really good highlights. I listened to a lot of memoirs. I listened to a lot of books that were made into movies. I was even able to watch some of those movies last year.
Nice.
And some of them I'm going to watch this year. Like Mickey 17, we talked about some of the hype,
yeah.
things that we did. I
Yeah.
read Mickey 7 last year. So really cool. It definitely gives me a better appreciation for books. Spoiler, I'm not going to have a book goal. But it's definitely going to be part of my year. I don't want to force it. I just want to read what I want to read.
Love it.
But I really appreciate it. And I feel like I enjoy movies more because a lot of them are adapted from books. So, yeah, that was
That
my
makes
first
sense.
goal.
How many of them were
Is there-
audiobooks? Oh, sorry. We all had
Oh.
questions for you.
Go ahead. Oh, how many of them are audiobooks? Like 18 of them
Okay.
were audiobooks.
That's
yeah.
good to know.
Actually,
Um,
that's really funny that my question kind of, or I rather have a statement. I, learned, well, someone put it into perspective for me that when you listen to audiobooks, it's like the only time in your life that you're listening to grammatically correct English.
oh, that's true.
And so you can pick up and learn a lot that way. And I thought that was a really fascinating statement because, I don't speak, no one really speaks.
I always speak correctly. No, that was a lie.
Yeah, I was like,
They hit us with a nah.
yeah. The spoken grammatically correct English is definitely few and far between. And so I think that's really neat to, listen to a book and hear it spoken to you. Because also when you read, I skip over words because I can predict.
You
like
fill in the
Yeah.
blanks.
Yeah,
Exactly. So anyway, that was my
Yeah,
tidbit.
and honestly, a lot of the narrators to the books were awesome. Like
Mhm.
I picked up a couple books from recommendations from people, and I didn't finish them because I just like didn't care for the narrator, and I was like, this is boring too.
It's a big
so I
deal,
just
right?
I stopped
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's some, especially books that have multiple different perspectives where the narrator changes,
Mhm.
or
Oh.
memoirs, like those hit so well. Like when the narrator is the author, that like
Yes.
is crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
I
I
love
agree.
that. Love that.
What's really
Alex-
good, Matt, I don't know if you guys have read this book, but it's called Mad Honey, and it's actually by two authors that they're writing different perspectives, and they both narrate the part that they wrote.
Oh,
And so
that's cool.
it's really cool. Like each chapter is kind of like a new perspective. They're
Mhm.
kind of going back and forth as like daughter and mother, and it's really, really good. Would highly recommend.
I love it when they do multiple voices or different narrators for different sections. I really appreciate that. Alex, you had a comment for Matt?
Yeah, my question was, and maybe you just answered it, was there something you'd recommend the most out of that set of books? Like, is there something you enjoyed the most that you would be the most willing to recommend?
So my highest recommendation from this list was a book that actually came out last year. It's by Percival Everett. It's called James. And it's basically about a slave who escapes. And what's really interesting is like in the book, like the way it's written, because actually Maddie read this book like in print. And like reading it, it's like very grammatically incorrect when they're around like their slave owners.
Oh, yeah.
Like they are talking like very like stereotypical like Southern black slaves. And then like what you would see in a movie, like what you would almost expect. And then as soon as like the white slave owners would leave, they would become completely lucid. Like they would come completely grammatically correct. And like by the narrator, because the narrator would like play into it really, really well. So like you would know if they were around white people or not based upon how the narrator would speak.
Yeah.
And it adds such a weird, like, it was the most movie feeling I had all year. And like that I'm just comparing books to movies is like plays into my interest, but was fantastic. It was so good. And honestly, like one of the best endings in a book that I've read, like a complete 5 out of 5 experience. If you're looking for something to read, really, really good. Would highly recommend.
I've seen
Nice.
that on lists, like highly recommended lists, and you speaking about the audiobook being like that, I think I'm gonna hold it for my library like right now.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, you should do it.
Okay.
On Goodreads, it was one of the nominees for readers' favorite audiobook in 2024.
I voted for it. Like I like Goodreads sent me
That
an
was
email
me.
and
That was me.
I
Yes.
voted for it every
Yeah,
chance I
that
could.
was representing.
Yeah, it's so good. I've not run into someone who's read it that's like, oh, it's fine. Like everybody is really captivated by it. I know the rights got picked up by someone. I can't remember if it's going to be a movie or a TV show, but I'm excited for whatever it would be. I think it'd be a great movie. Like it's a very, I think it's a very compact movie or compact story that could play well into a movie.
Oh wow, it's by Steven Spielberg, or like got picked up by him.
Oh, perfect. Oh yeah. So I guess it's his like Amblin production
get-
studios?
I guess so. That was
Sweet.
the advertisement I got as from the library hold, and I have 19 weeks before I can
Okay.
get this audio book.
Sheesh. Yeah, the Spielberg effect. Do you want me to go down all my goals, or does somebody else want to jump in with their old, or what do you want to do? You're the host.
Let's mix it up. Yasser,
Okay,
what
cool.
was one of your old goals?
Ah, dang. You're just going to throw me in there, huh?
Yep, I am.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just throw in my worst one because we're talking about books.
Yeah.
So I had a goal of just to read. Like, this is the easiest goal I probably had of all my goals. I just had to read 7 books. And I got to say, I only got through 2 of them.
Okay.
That's not bad.
What's
So, yeah, it was Seth Rogen's yearbook that I'm pretty sure I mentioned
Cool.
at some
Yes.
point.
Yep.
Yes.
And then it was one of Malcolm Gladwell's books. I think it was The Tipping Point.
Okay. I
Okay.
heard of that.
And actually, funny enough, I read quote unquote both of these via an audiobook as well. And I really didn't care for Malcolm Gladwell's narration of his book personally. And so to me, it felt like it kind of took away a little bit from the experience. But in general, I felt like overall he jumped to a lot of conclusions, which I don't know if you all have read or experienced a lot of his books, but they're a lot about like philosophy and like how people's brains work and things like that. And I thought it was still like an enjoyable experience, but there was just a bit too much with like jumping to conclusions that I felt like made me not like it as much. But in general, it was still like a good thought exercise, and so it was enjoyable overall. I will say, I think the main reason why I didn't really end up hitting this goal, obviously, is because I watched a lot more movies than I thought I was going to.
Nice.
Like that was not one of my goals, and I ended up watching 30 movies this past year, and
That's awesome.
that probably took away from a lot of the free time that I had for some of the books I wanted to read. So I probably am not gonna have a reading goal this next year. Another spoiler warning. But honestly, I think it's better to just have it come naturally, like Matt said, and hopefully I'll have better luck with it not being a goal this year. But I did mention this before, but I'll say it again. I loved Seth Rogen's yearbook, and I've recommended it to multiple people
I'll
already.
put it on the list.
Okay. Yeah, we gotta love those memoirs. I just realized we all had book goals last year.
Did we really?
Yeah, we
Oh,
each had a type
true.
of book goal.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Alex, do you want
You
to
like crushed yours, but yeah, we'll jump to Alex first.
Yeah, no, I'm like, well, do you want to go or should I just talk about my book goal?
I can do mine. I'll
Okay.
just do both of my goals since they're more simplified. So the book-related goal, obviously, and Matt wanted to point out back when I made it, very ambitious. Writing a novel, writing this story.
The most ambitious goal that any of us had last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you had the
Biking?
the bike ride.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
So-
was ambitious too, but I feel like yours is still next level. Like it's a lot of work, right? To
I mean,
put a novel
there's
together?
there's a lot of stress on both of us, right? Yours physically, mine mentally.
Yeah.
yeah, right.
But similar to Yasser in a way, failed spectacularly. I did get some writing done, so I did a good old 4 pages worth. We got a good 4 pages in. And
Love
not to make any excuses, but I realized, in thinking about it, and I would say I have 4 pages like written, like locked down. But I definitely have like at least another maybe like 4 to like 6 like in my mind like that I could like get out immediately, that if I were to spend the time. And I think in a similar way, and like I said, not to make any excuses, but a lot of it came down to, it's finding the time, right? It's something that you want to do as a hobby or as a goal, and it's just allocating the time to say, well, there's a lot of things you want to do, and it's just picking and choosing which ones you want to do at certain times. And so for me, I'm even writing the pages that I didn't do that immediately after we started, right? Like it kind of came to me during like the summertime.
Mhm.
So a lot of it was during like the summer months is when I actually wrote those pages. And in terms of like even the story itself, not to say I didn't work on it, right? Because I think, especially with a lot of things that have happened in the past year, even the story has also kind of changed perspective a little bit. And so I think even if I haven't had solid things written on paper, there was work done, in general, right? So I think it's a small victory, right? Because at least prior to this, for the past like decade plus of me thinking about writing something, I never had anything written down, period.
Yeah, it's a start.
There's a small victory of having those few pages written. And so, spoilers, it will be something I continue for this year. So that will be a goal. I'll repeat it again when we get to that section. But yes, I do intend on continuing that journey in 2025.
Do you
but
feel
on
like
the flip side,
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to quickly ask a question. Do you feel like you learned a little bit more about like the process itself this year, trying to like really think through it? And do you feel like the story that you're envisioning has changed at all as a result?
I think at least from doing those pages, I definitely did learn a lot because I realized, when you're writing something as a book, right, or as any kind of linear medium, right, you need to supply everything to your audience that you think is necessary, right, to understand everything. And it's something where even when I was writing those pages, there was a lot of, deletions, a lot of going back, looking at things and realizing, wow, I know at least in my mind where everything is going to go, but realizing how much you need to put in on paper to give your audience enough information to also be able to get there is a pretty big hurdle, right? Because I realized there are a lot of things of saying, well, I could write, Y character goes to B location, but they meet, Z and X, side characters along the way. But it's kind of finding the middle ground of like, how much am I going to explain something, right? In order to get your imagination going. Obviously I feel like, especially with books, a lot of it relies on the reader to kind of fill in the gaps as well in certain cases of saying, I can describe something, I can overly describe something, but it's going to be, on you ultimately the conclusion you draw from it to say, well, if I describe someone as being, beautiful, everyone has a different perception of what it means to be beautiful.
Right.
And so it's kind of finding that ground of like, am I going to explain that? Is there something more that, yes, they're beautiful, but is it specifically something about them I want you to know? So you have that in mind, right, when you read about them in case they are involved later on to say, oh, that was an important detail, I need to keep that with me. Or is this going to be something where, yeah, I can say generally, in this world, they are conceived as being beautiful, and then that's about it, right? Like, do I not need to waste time on it? And so there was a lot there that did kind of flow back into saying, well, I need to go back, maybe add a little bit more, point some more things out, maybe skim over other things, right, to get you on that track. And I think that's kind of the major learning I had from just getting things onto paper, because realizing, oh, I thought this would take me like one paragraph to write. Joke's on me. This scene's going to take me like 3 pages just to get everything onto the page. So yeah, that was kind of the major takeaway I had from getting those pages down.
That makes sense. All right, what was your other goal?
Yeah, and on the flip side, the other goal that I successfully did, I mentioned this in our last year goals episode, if I succeeded, you listeners would be able to witness the product of the goal. And so, yeah, my other goal was I took a recommendation from each of you respectively for a game, movie, and book. I then experienced them, and then we all had I had one-on-one conversations with each of you respectively with your recommendations, and I made a compiled peer review episode. You can check listeners on our podcast feed or in the peer review playlist over our YouTube channel. And yeah, it was definitely a great time. I was glad that the things recommended were pretty distinct. Like I felt like there wasn't a lot of overlap, and so I was able to get like unique experiences out of these things. And it was definitely fun to kind of have a more, I guess, one-on-one, right? Like we've done peer reviews that have been one-on-one, but I've liked this style a little bit more of saying, well, these were specific recommendations from each of you to me, and then kind of having that reflective conversation post-fact. So that I thought was a great product, and I was able to, everyone kind of spent the similar amount of time going over each of their topics, so that was great to compile into one video. So listeners, if you're interested, check it out. I forget the name of it. I believe the episode is called Space, Mountains, and Magic. So if you want to Google or YouTube search that, or search our podcast feed, you should be able to find it under that title.
It was a great listen. I listened to 2/3 of the episode, and you're thinking, oh, Matt, did you not listen to your part of the episode? No, I did listen to mine. Of course, I'm going to listen to me talk about the Prestige. Why not? That's why I'm here. And I listened to Tiffany's part because she talked about Project Hail Mary, which is one of my favorite books I've ever read. But I did not listen to Yasser's part because I want to play it. And then I have plans on playing it, and after I finish playing it, I'm going to re-listen to it because I don't want to be spoiled for it. But I love this format. I like how it was like very interview style, and it went straight from one to the next to the next. So I can't wait to complete it after I beat Virginia.
Yeah, I loved the format too. It was really great being part of it, and then also being able to listen back and hear how different the experiences were. And I also enjoyed getting to hear about the Prestige because I ended up watching it first before I rewatching it before I listened to you guys talk about it. It was definitely a fun listen.
Okay, so my book goal, we're gonna go back to that.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so my original book goal was 52 books in the year of 2024.
Only 52.
And I smashed it and made a new goal throughout, I pushed my goal back. And my new goal was like 78 books, and I smashed it. Okay, via Goodreads, I read 81 books, but I'm actually going to say that it was only 79 because...
Only 79.
I listened... only 79. Because one of my... there was one book that I listened as a graphic audio novel, and that was split into 3. So like it was 3 entries because it's, way back when, if you bought an audiobook, it was like 19, it was, not 19, it was like, 6 CDs or something. Mm-hmm. And so I imagine in my head that each section was just too much audio. So it was split up. So I imagine like 35 CDs or something. I don't know. But yeah, I read a lot. And you know what? That's pretty much all I did because I didn't do any of my other goals. That's all I did. None of my other goals. I'm going to go through my goals really quick because, we don't need to belabor the point, right? Because I didn't meet them. So we don't need to talk about it. Okay. My goal was to roll credits on Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I wrote the number wrong on here. I was like, this isn't right. Okay. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I did not do that.
Wrote Final Fantasy 15.
No, I wrote Final Fantasy 6. That's what I wrote. Okay, so I didn't play that, or I didn't even boot that up. I told myself I wasn't allowed to buy a Switch 2 unless I finished Super Mario Wonder and Fire Emblem Engage. Joke's on everyone. Switch 2 did not come out. So New Year,
so technically, you met that goal. You did not buy the Switch 2.
I did not buy the Switch 2, but I did.
Asterisk.
I played more Mario Wonder, and honestly, felt like that game was not for me. That was my experience with that, which is kind of a bummer because I think I put in like a couple more hours, and I was like, this is a drag. So you all convinced me that when a game isn't fun, I don't need to spend time on it anymore. So yeah. I might just move on.
That's
and
exactly
then
right.
I told myself that my gaming budget was limited to a specific amount of money, and I think I met that. I didn't really buy much games last year because I wasn't really playing them. And then when my
Balatro.
No, I bought that before. Oh, wait. No, you're right. I think
Well, it just fell within the spending domain. I don't know what your goal was, but
does the TCG spending count in this?
What did you just say? Excuse me, sir?
The pocket spending. I'm sorry.
No, it was only for consoles. I had a budget, and I think I met my
What
budget.
a loophole.
I know, right? It was only for consoles.
Yeah.
And my compatriots
She's like, she
had-
just keeps buying gift cards and then using those gift cards to pay for games. She's like, I only spend on gift cards, guys.
yeah.
Google
And
Play Bucks.
you guys had my compatriots here, Matt and Yasser, had. Actually, no, wait. It wasn't Yasser. It was Alex. Alex and Matt had goals that I was trying to align myself with those goals, like re-listen or reread Project Hail Mary. I did not do that, but I did have that conversation with Alex. And then I was supposed to replay Final Fantasy X, but I also did not do that. So my year was a blur. yeah, Matt, do you want to talk about that? Why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So that is the big miss of the year. I, in a similar way to Alex, I took a gaming recommendation from each of you, and they had varying degrees of success. I started off the year really strong. Did Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. Recorded a peer review with Yasser.
You crushed those
did-
two games. Like they were gone within January
gone.
or February, right?
Yeah. Then 10 months passed, and I started playing Yakuza 0 per Alex's request, and was not looking forward to, I'll be completely honest, was not looking forward to Yakuza. I'm like, this is not going to be my game. And I'm like talking to Alex. I'm like, so can I just beeline the story and then us record the thing? And he's like, no, you gotta like try some of the things, like do some of the side stuff, like that's the whole thing. And that's not what he sounds like. And so
That's
then
exactly what I sound like.
then I promptly got addicted to that game and
Bro.
100%ed that game.
Yeah. That
The
was
only
insane.
thing I didn't do was the climax battles, which is outside the story, and I did not do a new game on hard. But everything else, like in one playthrough, got 100% of everything. Like the whole compendium, done. Mahjong, done. Like, I
Mahjong.
destroyed this. We have yet to record our peer review, but it's done.
Really?
And we're going to record our peer review. That is planned, at least in concept, not by date. But we will get that, and so look out for it, because I think it's going to be really fun. Because I found, and what I was really hoping for is like I would find new things that I like. Like I would get excited about new game franchises, and I think I am excited. I'm still very nervous about Yakuza because there's just too many of them. It's just too many of them. But it makes me appreciate them, and like I'm happy to see them make more games. So I was happy about that. Tiffany, on the other hand, at this point it's December, and I just like accepted defeat. I was like, I'm not going to start a game and not finish it. So I did
What was
not
her rec
start.
again?
It was Final Fantasy X, and
okay,
I did not even start it, but I did
okay.
purchase it because it went on deep sale. It was like $2.99,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sheesh.
and so I purchased it, but I did not start it. But I do want to play it. It's not going to be tied to any goal this year, but I do want to play it. I'm looking forward to it, and when I do, you'll be the first to know.
Okay.
So yeah,
Sweet.
so actually no harm, no foul of you
Yeah.
not replaying Final Fantasy X, because I couldn't even do that. So it's okay.
Thank you so much for your acceptance, honestly. I felt like such a little like roly-poly last year. It's like
What does that mean?
everything. Well, I was just like, man, I could just like reading and listening to audiobooks is just so much less energy than playing
Yeah.
a game. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah.
So I just felt like I was just rolling around, like just, like a panda in the zoo, and you just see it just like lying there and like eating bamboo and then rolling down the hill and just being a fluff ball. That's what I felt like my last year was, I'm going to be honest.
How many of your books were audiobooks, by the way, Tiffany?
That is really hard for me to
Not
say.
sure.
Yes.
Okay.
I
enough.
feel like I could happily say 33% of my books were audio, maybe more,
Interesting
because
mix.
I did this thing where I would go between the book and the audio.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yes.
that's got to be weird.
No.
Right?
It's so I inherently read faster.
The only wrong way to read books.
No.
Is to split the audiobook and read.
Well,
Yeah,
like the way that I
just
think
pick a
about
lane,
it,
people.
that could make sense. Is that like you're on your commute and you want to continue the next
Yes.
chapter?
Yes.
So like you listen to it, but then when
Yes.
you're at home, you're like, okay, I'm gonna read the next one because I want to read it.
That's exactly what, Yasser. I did a lot of driving last year, like a lot of driving. And so I'm reading my book and I'm like, well, I guess I got to
And
go on my
driving.
and drive now. And then I would stop at a chapter and I'm like, okay, now I need to start the audiobook at chapter 32 because I finished
Interesting.
reading chapter 31.
I've
And
never
then-
done that before, but that does sound interesting.
Can I submit some evidence to the reading police to figure out if something's weird or not?
Motion denied.
Dang.
Okay, fine. All right, we can move
Matt,
on.
did
I
you
guess.
go
was
through
really
all your?
Court's
interesting.
adjourned.
Did you end up going through all your goals, Matt?
No, I still got my movie goal to go.
Okay. I'll put in a couple more then.
Okay.
Okay.
So what are my goals? So like you guys have already mentioned previously, or Alex did. So I won't, and I've mentioned this a million times on pods already. So I'm not gonna like beleaguer it, but the cycling goal, got that done. It was
Woo!
a great experience, loved it, and I hope to continue that now into like New Year's. But I don't think it's gonna be a goal necessarily, but it's something that I really enjoyed, and I want to continue doing it now. So I'm really glad that I had that as my goal last year. Another goal that I had was to, well, okay, I'll leave this one for last actually. The other goal that I had was similar to Alex and Matt, where I took recommendations from the three of you and I almost finished them. Well, at least I got 2 of the 3 done. Matt, sorry, honestly.
That happens.
I was actually really looking forward to yours, but it just like never felt like the right time, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense at all. But that is one that I will definitely be doing as soon as possible. So hopefully that gets done this year. But his was the Psych Odyssey documentary for the making of Psychonauts and Psychonauts 2 especially. So I already started on it and it's
Nice.
already been a blast. But I also want
I
to get
purchased
further
the-
along in the games.
I purchased the Blu-ray. They had a limited
Yeah.
physical release of the documentary, and so they released 1,000 of them, and I got one of them.
Nice.
So I was very excited about that. It's
That's awesome.
prominently on our shelf downstairs, and I think it's one of those things. Once you get closer, I might start rewatching it because there's actually
Yeah.
like bonus content that I wanted to check out. But I've been kind of waiting until you're getting closer, and then I'll just go through it because from what I remember, so emotional. Like I had so much emotion with it. So I'm excited for you to check it out.
I'll give you a heads up and I'm like 75%. How's that sound?
Perfect. That's great.
All right. And then Alex's, his was Helldivers 2. Did we record a pod for that? We did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just confirming. Because
And then, yeah, I just want to confirm it was also
Yeah.
Matt felt slightly slighted because he could not
Oh,
attend
yeah.
that recording.
listen, that
I
one
still
was
didn't get
kind of
that
like
platinum.
impromptu. Me and Alex just did the Virginia pod that same night. And we're just looking at the clock like, hey, why don't we just
you
do
guys
Helldivers right now?
You guys did it the same night?
yeah, the
Yeah.
same night.
Goodness.
And so I was like, all right, I'll just ask Matt. If he's not available, we're just going to do it. So that's exactly what happened. And Matt got a little upset, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But
Sad
it was,
face.
we honestly had a lot of good times with that. But we haven't hopped back on since like kind of close to launch. So honestly, we're kind of slacking that way too. Anyways, lastly was Tiffany's rec. It was the One Piece live action TV show.
Yes.
I have some thoughts on that, but
Yeah.
I also want to leave it for the pod because we still haven't had that pod.
Yes. And we'll
So
we'll
we will
schedule
be
that
doing
soon.
that soon. But
Yes.
that was my other rec, and I got that done as well. So I'll leave my last one for after Matt and Tiffany wrap up theirs.
So, fun note, season 2 of One Piece live action finished filming.
Oh,
Nice.
Yep. So I'm really excited for it. I hope we get it this year.
is there a release date?
No, there's no release
Okay.
date.
Okay.
Have you done all your goals, Tiffany?
Yes.
okay.
I was a miserable louse.
No,
and
we're not.
did
We're not
none
talking,
of
we're not
those.
talking that way. We're not talking that
Okay,
way.
okay.
So I
Just
had
flexing her vocabulary.
my
From all my
yeah, that
books.
was listen, I was impressed. Like that sounds like forget
Louse.
79. That sounds like 81 to me.
Yeah.
You don't pull that word out with 79.
Okay, that's fair.
That's an 80 plus vocab. So mine, as my vocab is less and less, it's because my biggest goal was movies, because they're much easier than books. My goal was 52 new movies to me. So this didn't mean 2024 releases. It was just I've never seen them. I wanted 52 of them a year, so averaging once a week. And I kind of destroyed it. I doubled it.
Nice.
So I did 111 new movies to me last year. Which I only watched 100. Yeah, I only watched 132 movies in total last year. So out of those 132, 111 of them were brand new experiences for me, and it was awesome. Like man, I have such a newfound love for movies. Like I am in like my movie renaissance. I've always considered myself a movie person, but like I think this goal like really set me up to just be that guy. Like
to cement it.
Yeah, and
it's a core memory.
Actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. See, I've got
Love
no vocab to come with this.
No.
But it's really great, and I have another movie goal coming up, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Sweet. I'm excited to hear it. Yasser, NCAP, our 2024 era.
You're already done? I was trying to eat some dinner. Hold on.
Oh,
So-
sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Matt, are you gonna do another like of those months this year where you just watch a movie every day?
Oh yeah, let me talk about April. Now that should give you enough time to digest. A little bit.
Please.
So April was a very special month because actually I started off really slow. My January and February, I may have only watched maybe less than 10 new movies to me, and I was like, uh-oh, I might be getting into trouble. But then I got this harebrained idea that in April, I think it'd be really fun if every day I spun a wheel and it landed on a year, I would watch a movie from that year every day in the month of April. I called it every day is a new year. That's what I called it on Letterboxd, and it was fantastic. I honestly like it's the first year that I spun, April 1st, was 2014, and that's when I watched Whiplash, and now Whiplash is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's something I think about on a weekly basis, and I've talked about it on this pod, and it was my number one movie of the year, and it came from April. So I definitely have plans for maybe some themed months. Nothing as of yet, but I do have some thoughts on it, especially spooky season and closer to the holidays.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what that ends up being.
12 Days of Christmas?
Oh.
Question mark?
Maybe.
Mm.
Could be. So my last goal was I was to complete 20 single player story experiences. And I, if you recall, went through like a whole Excel sheet to organize this shit. I was like ready for this, and I was actually looking forward to it a lot. And honestly, so I didn't end up meeting it. Spoiler alert. I got to 14, but
That's still pretty
overall,
good.
That's a lot.
like overall, this was way more games that I like rolled credits on than I would have otherwise, or I have done in previous years. And so I really enjoyed doing this. And I'm not going to get into spoilers whether or not it's another goal of mine, but I do think that I like the idea of, at the very least, organizing some of my backlog so that I have a good idea of like what games I have in my queue and what games I feel like I want to play very soon after I'm done with whatever I'm playing at the moment. Because a lot of times when I don't like think about my backlog, it just becomes a distant memory, and I just like focus on the games that I'm playing, especially if they're multiplayer games. I just like tunnel vision into those games and don't even think about playing other games. And so it was really great to kind of have a little bit more of a balance this past year than previous years.
You know what?
Is there a favorite one out of the 14 you have?
That's actually It's a decent question. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I did mention my favorite like story solo experience from last year, from our previous pod, which was Hellblade 2. And that was in a lot of ways there because of like how breathtaking and like new that experience felt. But there were a lot of other games that I felt like kind of surprised me, whether it were like some new games or some games that I came back to after a really long time. So some that come to mind, Alan Wake, that was a game that I hadn't played since the 360 era, or whenever that was. So that's like 2008, I think it was around that time when it came out. And I was actually really surprised by how well that kind of held up. Because it was a very it was a very old game, so I was expecting the gameplay to be a little clunky, and it kind of was, I suppose. But the writing, the atmosphere really made up for a lot of that in a lot of ways. So it's kind of funny, like thinking about some of those older games that I figure wouldn't hold up. They probably hold up better than I think they do. So I definitely need to think about that a little bit more. And another one that I came back to was Cyberpunk 2077 after all its like new updates that came through late 2023, early 2024. And that was one of my favorite experiences too, because it's been a while since I've like kind of gotten engrossed into an open world. We've kind of talked about how it's like tough sometimes with open worlds because it can just feel like there's so much to do.
Yes.
But Cyberpunk, like after all its updates, really did feel like a living world that made me want to explore, want me to talk to random NPCs that cross my street. It wasn't as good as say like a Witcher 3 as far as like some of the experiences that you come across randomly, but there was definitely still a lot of cool content there. So I really enjoyed that. And then one last one, because it's like a new experience. I played Dark Souls for the first time ever. And that was like one of the games that Matt's recommended for a very long time. And I played it co-op, which was a really interesting experience.
That's
and I loved
cool.
it. And
Yeah.
so we've been continuing on with the Dark Souls experience. And so it's been good to like explore different types of games that I haven't played before too. So it's been an overall great experience.
I love that. That was 2024 for us. And now we're walking into 2025, already a month, more than a month in.
Mm-hmm.
So we might have had a little bit of a kickstart on our goals already, which is totally fine.
I hope so.
I think this time we can go through each of us and just kind of walk through what our goal is for 2025, and we'll just like go down the list. So who wants to go first? If not, I can start the path. Oh, Alex is to go.
Alex is ready.
Okay. Tell us, what is Alex's 2025 going to consist of?
Yes, and mostly because I need to give you guys time again, because I
Oh
am
my god.
kind of
no.
redoing a goal that I did last year. So like I said, last year I asked Tiffany for a book, Matt for a movie, and Yasser for a game. And I would then do a sit down with each of them and discuss the experience. And so that happened. You know, we had Project Hail
That did
Mary,
happen.
we had Virginia, we had The Prestige. And so this year it's in a similar vein, but I'm going to make it a little bit more open-ended. And I'm not going to be directing any of these to you in particular, but I do only want one recommendation of these things from the group of you. So I guess it'll be a kind of a competition to who recommends what
Oh,
first.
wow.
But I have 3 genres here.
Oh, genres.
So for this year, I'm not limiting it to any book, game, movie, show, whatever. It can be any of those things as long as the primary classification of it is this genre. So I just want kind of like the main shtick. Like, obviously, it can have elements of other genres in it.
I can't wait to
But
hear what the
if
genre
you were
is.
to,
Yeah, seriously.
if you were to classify it, it would fall under this category.
Mhm.
So the first genre I have, I don't want to make these too difficult, at least for this year. But it's going to be fantasy. And
Okay.
so for this, I'm not putting sci-fi under this.
Yeah, that's
I think
different.
sci-fi fantasy is its own thing.
Yeah.
But as long as the core classification of it is under fantasy, I think it'll suffice.
Okay.
So anything that's fantasy. The second genre is a mystery. So any type of mystery. And the third genre is a thriller / suspense. So
Dang.
whatever form you want that to be. So I only want one of each. Each of
Yeah.
you can take whichever category. If you have something you want to recommend, shout it out now. Otherwise, I'll give you over the course of the podcast to think about something, and hopefully by the end you'll have, once one is taken, obviously that'll remove the category from being eligible to
like
be
honestly, the
recommended.
tough part here is like knowing what you haven't experienced, So we're gonna have to like
Sure, yeah.
throw some things at you, like have you watched this? Have you played this?
Yeah. And I can answer this question. I
Yeah.
never get in one,
I'm really kind of
point, but-
upset because I wanted to make you read 2 books, but I don't think they
None
fall
of them are
in.
the genres.
No, I don't think so because it's more sci-fi, like
Unlucky.
dystopian.
Like I
like
said,
dystopian.
As long as the core like story theme is this genre, I'll take it. It can have other elements. Like I don't want to be that restrictive, but I want like the fantasy aspect to be kind of like the bread and butter of that narrative, the mystery aspect, the thriller suspense. Because obviously some of these things, right? Like some mystery has thriller suspense elements. So I don't want it to be like too mutually exclusive, but I want the narrative to kind of hone in on that as the core idea and kind of having the extra elements kind of support it, but in the background, right? So that's kind of where I want to broaden it out, though. So it can be anything: book, movie, play, what have you. So I'll leave that open.
I like
So
it.
that's one of my goals. Second goal, very easy: continue my novel. I like last year, I'm not going to put any kind of minimum or maximum on it, so it's not like, I want to write like X more pages or I want to finish it. Best case scenario, I do finish it, but it's just to continue progress on it. So to whatever extent that may be, hopefully it gets done. Not to say I'll write like one page and be like, well, I succeeded this year. I wrote one more page than I had last year. But hopefully it's something more consequential than that. And the final goal, so my third goal and final goal is, so 2 years ago on the channel, in case listeners you didn't know, in 2023, I did a solo review of Sea of Stars, the video game developed by Sabotage Studios. And so in a similar vein, last year, I didn't get around to doing any solo reviews. No one else here in the pod seemed compelled to do any solo reviews. But for this year, I am making it a goal. I want to do 3 more solo reviews.
Nice.
So this I'm numbering 3 specifically. And these will be specifically games, because I know there's a lot of games I end up playing that I don't necessarily bring to the pod, or it doesn't really find a spot on the podcast for certain topics we talk about.
Sure.
But there are certain things where I feel like, this is something that came out this year, something I enjoyed, and that I want to express my opinions on. So obviously, these are typically games that I don't think any of my co-hosts end up playing. But that's why I did the solo review of Sea of Stars 2 years ago. And so in the similar vein, I want to do 3 more of those this year for hopefully new releases that come
I like
out
that.
in 2025.
Love
yeah,
it.
so that's it.
I love it. I think I have one for thriller mystery, if this counts.
Oh my gosh, she's
Because-
throwing out there.
I mean, thriller suspense.
Thriller suspense. Sorry, I meant thriller suspense. You guys can let me know if you think it's too much. But Alex, because I want to do this with you. I want us to watch all 3 seasons of White Lotus.
That's thriller suspense. I haven't
is-
watched it.
Isn't it
I
thriller?
didn't know it was.
suspense?
Thriller suspense. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah, it's not thriller suspense.
Dang, is it mystery?
No, it's like more like comedy, drama.
Comedy drama. I
Like
thought there,
Ozark is thriller suspense.
I thought there
Yeah.
was a murder in each White Lotus season. You're supposed to figure
There
out.
is, but it's not like like Glass Onion or Knives Out or anything.
Well, that's
Okay.
mystery. Yeah.
Dang. Okay, so your veto. Everyone's
They're
vetoing.
good. You guys should watch it though. The first 2 seasons are great. And the 3rd season's about to come out. So
That's why I was like, I want to do that.
You can make it one of your goals.
No, that's not one of my goals.
Okay, that's fine.
she's like,
All
"Why
right,
do you
we
watch
can
it with me?"
Shut down.
Well, will you watch it with me if I make it my goal? Oh my gosh, pure
Your goal
silence.
is to watch.
My goal is to watch
it with me.
Yes. My goal.
Well, then that means I have the power in my hands whether or not you complete that goal.
Yeah, and
You shouldn't make that your goal. Then it should be solely
Oh
dependent
my
upon
gosh.
yourself.
Dang.
well, I do want to watch it though. Are you not going to watch it with me? I thought we even talked about this. Now I feel like I'm being gaslighted.
I feel like it's too much pressure that you're putting on him right now, live
Fine.
on the pod.
Fine.
I just remember the last time we watched something together. You know,
It took
and it was
35
15
years.
seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it took the course of
These
the
are
span
quick.
of my
Yeah,
lifetime.
these are quick.
Oh my
And,
gosh, your
that's
youth.
quite the commitment.
It took your youth away from you, basically, when we were.
And I'm an old, withered old man.
Yeah. Okay, you know
with
what?
Jaded opinions.
I'm gonna go after my goals because I
Okay.
think I went a little bit more generous or more generous to my own time. I think.
Yeah.
So I do have another book goal, mainly because I'm always gonna be reading. And my book goal, I'm going to keep it at 42 or 52 books. Now, the reason why I was debating, I was like, do I go to 100 books? I'm like, no. Because I need to make time for my other hobbies. So I'm
Yeah.
only going to keep my goal at 52.
Okay.
I've already read 10 in the month of January. But the reason why I'm going to leave it at 52 is because my goal, the sub goal, is that I need to lower my currently reading list to less than 7 books. And
At a
now
time.
What is it at now?
it's at 14. I'm
Damn.
I'm currently reading 14. And now when I say I'm currently reading, I picked up a book, I was reading it, and then I walked away from it for some reason, but I did not choose to DNF it. I put it in my head that I would eventually come back and finish it. Have I needed to restart from the beginning before? Yes, I have, but I've happily done so. And so this is where I'm like, you know what? This is outrageous. I either need to commit to not going back to it or I need to finish it. And so that is the biggest part of my goal, and which is why I'm leaving my goal at 52 books. My second goal, because I only have 2 major goals this year, is to roll credits on 5 video games.
Let's go.
And everyone's
generically.
generically, everyone's like 5.
Okay.
You barely played like 5 last
1.
year. And I'm going to be honest. Last year I rolled credits on
Balatro.
on 1. No, I didn't roll credits on. Well, I mean, I beat a run on Balatro, but
That's rolling credits.
I rolled credits on Astrobot, and I was basically like 10 seconds from the end of Bandletale, but I never finished that. But anyway, I'm
What?
saying 5 because I know that I'll finish 2. I know I'm gonna play
Because you're almost done with 2 already? Or
because I know I'm gonna play Cat Quest 3 with Alex, and I'm gonna
Okay.
play Split Fiction with Alex.
It's
nice.
just the co-op.
Yes.
See, this is
dragging
all your goals are dependent on Alex.
I'm dragging her bean body across the finish
I'm
line.
a- you
Her goals live and die by my hand.
She's just going limp.
I have codependency, okay? I have codependency issues. But I mean, I know I'm gonna finish those 2, and so I'm like, okay, that leaves like 3 other games that like I need to just play. Like I want to go back to video games,
Yeah.
and this is my entrance back into that world.
I like it.
Rebirth?
I mean, I'm not against
Maybe.
it.
Suicide Squad?
Oh, no,
just kidding.
no, not Suicide Squad. Don't make me do that.
No
I
one
played.
wants that.
Wait, I rolled credits on Gotham Knights with you, Alex. I played that game,
You did.
and it was bad.
That does count.
It wasn't
Wow.
fun. It
Wait,
wasn't.
are you
Yeah,
done?
that's why I
Limited
shouted
time.
it out.
Yeah.
That's why I shouted it out last episode. Be like, don't play this game. I recommend don't play. And then Matt was like, no negativity here.
That's true. Oh man. Okay, yeah.
So is
those
it just 2 goals?
Yeah, that's it. Those are my goals.
Sweet.
All right.
I can go next.
Okay.
So with it, I'll start with a video game goal. I have a couple that I want to do for video games. I kind of alluded to this when Alex and Tiffany were in my city and we were chilling,
Yeah.
lunch, and surprise Pledge of Allegiance happened at Mission Barbecue.
What?
Yes,
Wow.
It
yes.
happens at noon.
It happens
Every
at
day.
Of the
noon
United States of America.
every day.
Oh yeah, it's not the Pledge of Allegiance; it's the national anthem. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sick.
It's-
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead. So after that, I was talking about goals, and I was talking about, hey, we have all these subscription services, And I feel like a lot of times I'm just adding them to my library and doing nothing with them. So I had vowed at that point, and I'm making it official now, that out of 12 months, PS Plus adds games for free, just like to the base level. They give you 3 games. It's hit or miss. Sometimes you get Fall Guys. Sometimes you get whatever's being offered this month. Payday 3.
Suicide Squad.
Stuff that no one cares about. So I vowed that out of the 12 months, I would platinum 6 games from whatever I'm getting.
Yes.
And I've already gotten one. I got Stanley Parable. I played.
Nice.
And finished it and loved it.
What is that?
It is like a satire game. I'm very much into Severance right now as a TV show.
Yes.
Which, honestly, if that counts as a mystery or thriller, one of those two, that could be a great recommendation, Alex.
It's both, honestly, but yeah.
So maybe it could be a flex, but I would love to talk to someone about Severance. So if you want to talk about it, it's on Apple TV. You can get a free trial, and after season 2 comes out this month, you can watch both. Anyway, just a little plug there. But I'm really into that vibe of like office horror, which is like a weird theme. But if you think about it, that's exactly what Severance is. And that's exactly what Stanley Parable is. It is like very much like you're being watched. Like there is like mundane tasks, but there's a narrator telling you what to do, and you just do what they say. And sometimes you go off on a different path, and it narrates that path. Like, oh, that's weird. Stanley knew that the break room was straight ahead, and he turned left. Anyway, he might just want to go to the lounge. Like, it is so funny. I was laughing hysterically at this. Like, I did not just like play the game and like speed through it, and just to get the platinum. Like, I really enjoyed it. And that's what I want. I want to find games that are kind of like off the radar for me and enjoy them. And you know what? There's some easy platinums this month between like Pac-Man Repack or something or other. But you know what? That's not going to be something I go after because I don't want to just like, if I can help it, I don't want it to just be like an easy platinum. I want it to be like games I'm actually interested to play. So that's one of my goals. Another one of my goals, and I'm struggling with the number here. I'm thinking 4 or 5, and you guys can let me know. I'd like to play a game that has a sequel coming out this year that like I've never played before. So what happened with this, I played Ghost of Tsushima. I platinumed that because I want to play Ghost of Yotai. And I wanted to see if I would like that, and I would like to do that for multiple games. Right now I'm playing Death Stranding. Honestly, the first like 3 hours I was like, what am I, UPS? Like, what can Brown do for you? Like, this is so stupid. Why is like people obsessed? Now I'm like, okay, well, if I go to the engineer's little hut, I can also go to the elder's hut. It's a little bit
the routes
like,
have
now
been figured out.
I'm min-maxing, and I'm obsessed with the story.
Whoa.
Obsessed with the story.
Wow.
Because it's very
Weird.
David Lynchian, and I am all about it. And I can't wait to see that. So like I am opening worlds for myself that are happening this year. Like I'm now getting more and more excited for Death Stranding 2. Maddie's like, oh, are you going to play your baby game? Because that's all she associates with it.
Yes, because they're
little,
the
like,
baby.
BBs and the pods.
Yes.
So I'd like to do, I think, because that's 2. I know I'll do 2. I don't know. The rate limiting step is this. I don't know what is coming out this year.
Yes.
And I don't want to shoot myself in the foot by saying 5 and then like nothing else that I'm interested in happens this year.
Yeah.
So I think 4. What do you guys think?
Are you specifically looking for like, I guess, narrative sequels or just things with a new entry like in the franchise like coming out this year?
That's a good question. I don't know if I'm totally tied to just narrative sequels because like one of them was like, oh, I could replay Metroid Prime if Metroid Prime 4 comes out, but it's like I've already played Metroid Prime, but I've never played the remaster, so that could be part of it. Like that's when I'm like grasping at straws of, what would count or what wouldn't.
Could you imagine if you told him to play Monster Hunter World?
That's what I was about
Yeah,
to say. Would you
It's
do
too
like
much.
200 hours
No.
of World
I can't
to
do
then
that.
do another
You haven't heard my other
300 hours
goals.
of Wilds?
You haven't heard my other goals.
Yeah.
I think 4. I think 4 will be fair.
I think 4
I think
sounds
you
good.
can get 4 done potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'll be really fun. I'm just
I like
looking
it.
forward to it. So my movie goal, which is up in the ante from last year, watched 132 movies on Letterboxd. If you
200.
are a
Oh my
patron
God.
supporter, which I am on Letterboxd because it's a free service otherwise, and like
Mhm.
these people just like have the best social media service and don't ask for anything, and so it's like, of course I'm going to give them money
Yes.
to keep it going. Well, one thing it does, it gives you a lot of stats of your year in review. You can check it anytime. And part of that is for every 50 movies, you get a little title card of like, hey, your 50th movie. It's very similar to like PSN profiles when it's like your 10th platinum, your 20th platinum, whatever. Well, there's
landmark
4
achievements.
blocks, 50 each. And so I was like, the OCD in me
No
is
way.
like,
Oh
well,
my
obviously I need to get 200 movies.
Oh
So
my
my
God.
called
You
it.
did.
I literally called it.
So my goal
Wait.
is
So this is 201 year?
201 year.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
But
wow, how
don't
how
worry.
did I predict this?
Don't worry.
Insane.
It's not going to be that vague. It's going to be very granular because it wouldn't be me if it wasn't super granular. So out of the 200 movies,
Oh my
I'd like
gosh.
to rewatch 50 movies. So something I've already
Oh.
seen before. I want
Okay.
50 theatrically released in 2025, which is going to
Okay.
be tough.
Oh,
That's really tough.
My gosh, that's tough.
Theatrically or like released straight to streaming.
Sure.
Like,
okay.
It
Wait.
has to be released.
Release
That's
date was
not
this year.
theatrical.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, release date
You know
this
what I
year.
mean? Because
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah.
The Gorge is happening straight to Apple TV. That counts as a 2025 release.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
also
Okay.
there's some indies and international films that did not have a wide release in
Mhm.
2024 and now are getting released in 2025, like
Mhm.
Take that, we'll
January,
take that.
and I'm counting
Yeah.
those.
Okay.
You need stuff like that to get to
Yes.
50, I feel.
Yeah.
50 new to me after 2000. So in the years 2000, so 50 of those. That's going to be the easiest probably.
Wow,
of
that's
all of them.
25 years of cinema.
Yeah.
That's
but,
crazy to say,
That's-
actually.
Yeah, no, that's what
Yeah,
I was, I
that is
was like,
crazy.
wait a minute. That's
A quarter
So
century.
then I do 25 new to me before 2000, which
Mhm.
is fine. And then another one that's going to be maybe a little bit tough, 25 new to me foreign films. So these
Oh,
will
wow.
be
okay.
non-English speaking films. So
I love this, except
Yeah.
not 200. Cut it in
So-
half.
yeah. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay on my
How many do you
on my
have?
stuff. I'm at 16 films total right now.
Okay.
Which just started
Oh,
February.
it's 10%.
And I finished January with 15 movies. If I can finish every month with 17 movies, I'm at 200. So I just need to
Yeah.
Okay.
catch up a little bit, but I think I'll get it. I think I'll get there.
Actually, when you say it like that, it's just like 2 movies a week. Like
Yep.
literally when you break it down. Okay, never mind. Then that's not that bad. That's not
yeah,
bad at
I've
all.
already watched 3 foreign films. Like I'm rolling on some of these.
Nah,
goals.
don't let Tiffany make this any less crazy than it is. This is an ambitious goal.
I mean,
All
no,
right.
it's
It is
still
ambitious.
ambitious.
Is
He
this
watched
the
a lot
ambitious
of
goal
movies
the
last year, and he did not get to 200.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. But I'm going to try to get there.
I think
Looking
this
forward
is
to
the
the journey.
most ambitious goal of the year, unless Yasser proves us otherwise.
I don't think so.
He's like, I'm going to do cross country bike ride this year.
Going from Seattle to Florida. Let's do it. Was that the last one, Matt? I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right. I did figure all these out today, but I have had these ideas in the back of my head. And funny enough, one of them is actually very similar to one of Alex's. So I'm going to start with that one. And that is to do 3 pods with just one of y'all. And so I want to do it with just obviously one with Tiffany, one with Matt, one with Alex. And it's so instead of a solo review, it's going to be more like a specific topic that I think is ideal for a more intimate discussion where either there's something that I want to talk about in general that I haven't had the opportunity to, or there's maybe something that I want to learn about more and I might interview you guys. We'll see. I'm still kind of like there's still a little bit baking in the oven, but I want to do that. So those 3 pods is my first goal.
Love it.
Nice.
Cool.
Second goal is to match or beat my mark from last year for movies watched, because as I
nice.
mentioned, I actually really enjoyed that. It wasn't a goal of mine, but I enjoyed getting back into movies, and I hope like making this my goal isn't going to make it like homework where I'm not going to enjoy it. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case, because I've kind of continued the role that I started on 2024. So that mark was 30. So my goal is at least 30, if not more. And then lastly, is a goal that is actually completely new, not something that I did last year, but it's something that I felt like I haven't done very much of lately, as far as, especially since it's something that we typically talk about on the pod or have historically, and that's watch more TV shows. And so my goal for this year is also something along the lines of what y'all have mentioned, in the sense that I want to try 7 new TV shows. So these are
Okay.
not like Severance, for example, where I'm going to be watching season 2, or Stranger Things that I'm really looking forward to. That'll be season whatever the frick we're on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are 7 new TV shows. And honestly, I feel like this is going to be easy for me as far as like selecting shows, because there's so many shows that I've wanted to watch for a long time now that I just haven't gotten around to. And I just feel like I need to. Like, for example, I've had Disney Plus for years now, and yet somehow I haven't watched pretty much any of the shows on there. And there's a bunch that I want to watch. So I actually started back up because I only watched like the first episode, and then I kind of like cut it off. Maybe it was 2 episodes. But I restarted watching WandaVision in January.
I remember
nice.
saying
And that's
that.
actually been that's been interesting, and so I'm already like halfway through that. So that's one already. And so my goal is 7 new TV shows for the rest of the year.
Love it. Jinx.
Went through those quick.
Yeah.
Some good goals.
Yeah, you know, I'm a little bit more optimistic for myself this year. I think I needed to make it less specific. Because, you know, it's like a mental block, right? It turned into homework, and I'm like, oh, I have to finish Mario.
That's how it should
Wonder.
be. Yeah, right?
Yeah, and like that. This is
Yeah,
why
exactly.
I can't commit to book clubs.
Yeah, you can't do 50 of one type of thing and then 50 of another type of
Oh
thing.
my god.
Well, honestly, so one of my goals last year was the video games, right?
Mhm.
And there were a lot of games on there that I thought I would enjoy,
Mhm.
that I ended up just realizing that I'm not. Okay, Matt, what are you laughing at? Get it out of
Sorry,
your
I'm
system.
just laughing at,
No,
I'm
he's laughing at
Alex.
Yeah, he's laughing at
dunking on
Alex.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50 of one thing and 50 of another. It was like such
Savage.
a low-key jab. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm also surprised I called it somehow. I was just saying 200.
Matt goes all in. You literally just doubled his goal from last year. I feel like
Yeah,
that's
that's
like
crazy.
on par with his trajectory.
Matt easily has
All
the
right,
most
so
ambitious
we're gonna
goal.
do 400.
That would be so ambitious.
All short films.
I was like, are there even 400 movies you could fit into that timeline?
Yeah, I don't know.
Realistically,
I mean, if he goes through like the history of cinema, he absolutely
That's true.
could.
Yeah.
All
you
right,
know.
Matt's not
He's
gonna
like,
do that
"Ah,
next year. Come on.
it's
now.
4 minutes film.
I think 200 is my cap, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty sure this is
All right,
starting
as
out to
I
be
was saying.
2026
Yeah.
is not gonna have film.
But yeah, I realized last year, like, there's so many games that I thought I was gonna end up enjoying that when I got to them, I was like, you know, I have limited time to be playing these games, and I feel like I'm not enjoying this.
Mhm.
So I literally just crossed it off, deleted it from the list, and moved on.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we don't do that enough because we feel obligated after we put X amount of hours, or because everyone else loved it, or something like that.
Or because we
that
paid
you-
for it.
Or that, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely that. Where we feel like we have to like complete the experience, even if we're not loving it.
Hmm.
And for me, I feel like I've learned from that experience that I'm gonna just focus on the stuff that I really do enjoy, and then once I'm done with all those, then I can move on to the things that maybe I haven't been able to finish in the past.
That's literally like why we named this thing recommended experience, because it's like
Yeah.
we're 4 working professionals that have a
Limited
day
time.
job.
Mhm.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like this is what we spend our time with.
And what we think
So.
you should spend your time with.
Yeah.
Limited time with. That's
Limited-
right.
Limited time.
Exactly. And you know what? On that note, we're good. This episode is locked and loaded. We'd like to thank Grandmaster Doug for the tunes. Please like and subscribe on your podcast service or YouTube. And we'll be back again next time. Bye, everybody.
Please calm down. Please calm down.